Yeah. Well, when I think about inspiration, part of it's just musical and listening to great music, and part of it is new music that I love, but a lot of it is classic stuff that I go back to and listen to. Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, the Beatles, Nina Simone. These are some of the artists I go back to. Nat King Cole. I listen to them for inspiration, and that's the musical inspiration. And then the lyrical inspiration, when I think about the things I want to talk about in my songs, I usually talk about things that either are real to me personally or things that I really can understand because I can relate to them. And I feel like I want to write things that not only feel personal to me, but feel universal. Ideas that relate to everybody's experience. I write a lot of love songs, of course. And I write about my experiences in love and try to tell stories that mean something, you know? And that's what I do. Over here?
My name's Caroline. I was wondering how it was working with like good music for a full summer.
Yeah. Well, the album came out today. I think there was a delay getting it on iTunes, so if any of you have been having trouble finding it on iTunes, I actually had trouble finding it earlier today, but I think it's supposed to get posted. Kanye is a perfectionist, and he wanted to fix a few things in the master before it went up digitally, so it'll be up shortly, and I'm proud to be a part of it. I'm proud to be part of Good Music. Of all the artists on Good Music, I'm actually the very first one. Kanye signed me back in 2003, I believe. 2003, when he believed in me, when a lot of people didn't know who I was, and I was trying to get signed to a major label, and they weren't biting yet. And Kanye believed in me, and I'm always grateful to him for giving me the opportunity to shine in the way that I've been able to shine. And it's cool being a part of it and seeing it grow. And now, you know, it's a very robust team of MCs and singers, and it's been great working with all these talented people on the album. Now, we all have busy schedules. I'm probably one of the busier ones. Kanye's obviously very busy. But he just found a way to put it together. We worked in Paris, we worked in London, we worked in Hawaii, we worked in New York, we worked in Los Angeles. Whenever we could find time to get some stuff together, that's what we did. And all of us are creative people and contributed different aspects to the album, and you'll hear my contribution and you'll hear the other artist's contribution. And it's fun being part of such a great collective. And Kanye and I are actually working on my album as well. He's executive producing my album. And it's been delayed a little bit because we were trying to finish the Good Music album, by the way. I apologize for that.
That's all right.
But we're working on it and we're almost done. And I'm really excited about all the creativity that's coming out of our camp right now.
So there are a lot of musicians out there that drop out of school or think they don't need education because they want to follow their path of music and they just don't think that education would be useful for their path. So I was just wondering, what motivated you to get an education? Did you always, was your dream to be a musician? Like, did you ever struggle with that, thinking maybe I don't need education?
Yeah.
What was your motivation behind that?
Well, my parents started me very young. They homeschooled me a few years when I was a kid. I went to public school for 5 years of my, educational career, and then a private school for a couple of years, and then homeschool for a few years as well. And through all of that, my parents' stress was always that we didn't have to stay in our current station. They believed in an education. They believed, even though neither of them went to college, they believed that I could go on and do great things and go to college. And they invested in that, not financially that much, as much as they could, but they invested a lot of time and energy and intellectual capital of their own into doing that. And so by the time I was able to go to college, I was able to get into a lot of great schools. And I went to University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, and I was like, this is a great opportunity. Now, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do if I didn't get a record deal. I always wanted a record deal from the time I was like 5 years old, you know. I would watch Star Search. You probably don't know that show, but it's kind of like American Idol. I would watch Star Search. It was hosted by this guy named Ed McMahon, and a lot of famous people were actually on that show at some point. People that were famous maybe in the 90s or early 2000s. They were on that show when they were younger. And when I would watch the show, I would think, man, that should be me up there. So even at that young age, I believed that it could be me. And I wanted that to happen. But when you're at that age, you think you'll just get discovered somehow, and you don't know what kind of work you have to do to get there. But when I graduated from college, actually right before I graduated, in '98, played on the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. And I met her through a friend of mine that had grown up with her in New Jersey, and she asked me to play piano on Everything Is Everything, which is one of the singles from that album. And she asked me to audition for the tour as well, not long after that. Now, I was a senior at Penn, so I was this close to graduating, and I was this close to giving it up to go on tour with Lauryn Hill if I got the job. But I did not get the job. So maybe I was fortunate, maybe it wouldn't have mattered one way or another if I got the actual degree, having already been at Penn for 3 years and gained the benefit of that knowledge. But it just didn't work out, and so I stayed in school and I got my degree. But I don't regret having gone to college for any reason. Now, you might say that for plenty of people in the music business, they don't need a college degree to be successful in the music business. But to me, my college degree has made me just be a better person. Not the piece of paper, but the experience of having gotten the piece of paper has made me a better person. It's made me smarter, made me able to see the world in different ways, made me meet different people and listen to different perspectives. And I think in some way that makes me a better writer as well, because it gives you a lyrical breadth and depth that maybe certain people would not have. And it opens you up to different cultures and different experiences around the world. And to me, that just makes me a better person in general. And I'm glad I had that experience. And I think it's good for anybody to go to college, even if they think the job that they want to do doesn't require college. And this job doesn't require college, it doesn't. But there's a very small sliver of people who want to be where I am that actually get to where I am. So if for no other reason than an insurance policy against the fact that you might not get here, I think it's great to get a good education because it gives you options. Okay? Yeah.
My name is Mariana. I just want to say you have a beautiful, beautiful voice.
Thank you.
Also, wondering about kind of what you said. I'm kind of thinking of majoring in something in education and being like a bilingual teacher. But I'm also want to do like vocal performance or something. But I'm really interested, I guess, in knowing and finding out how you got involved, regardless of you were like in the singing area or the arts area, and then you got involved in the teaching aspect of it and helping kids and all that.
Well, it's interesting because, you know, I was raised not only to value in education, but also to, even though we didn't have a lot, to find ways to give back. So my parents, we didn't have very much money at all, and they were always kind of living week to week and scraping by. But they found some way to, like, bring in a foster family when they needed help. They found a way to donate to the local food shelter and do all these other things because they believe that even if you don't have a lot, what you are blessed with, you have a responsibility to pass that on to somebody else. So that sensibility never left me, and it was put into me by my parents. And then I was inspired by people like Dr. Martin Luther King. I used to read about him. When I had the choice of what to read about at the library, I used to get sports biographies and biographies of political people, and also biographies of my favorite singers. So these are the things I cared about when I was a kid. And I used to read about Dr. King, I used to read about Frederick Douglass, I used to read about people who put their lives on the line, like I said before, to fight for the rights of others, to fight for justice, to fight so that everyone could be treated equal. And so that sensibility has always been with me, and those were my other idols as I was growing up. In addition to Marvin Gaye and, you know, Luther Vandross and Stevie Wonder, great singers, my other idols were people that made big change in the world, put themselves on the line to do that. And so, my belief, even as a teenager, wanting to be a famous singer, my belief was that when I became successful, that I would use my position to do good in the world. And the more I read as an adult and the more I got into kind of discovering what my passions were, I cared a lot about the idea that too many people were stuck in poverty. Now, this is an international problem where, you know, if you go to certain villages in certain countries around the world, you know, people are living on literally less than $1 a day, and they're like every day is a struggle to literally survive. Here in America, it's not as extreme and it's not as pervasive, but we still have a serious issue with poverty here. And not only do we have an issue with poverty, we have an issue with economic mobility and income inequality. Economic mobility is the idea that, the American dream idea. So the idea that if you're born poor, no matter where you're born, no matter who you are, mobility means you have the chance to emerge out of that circumstance and become someone successful. But unfortunately, that dream, that kind of credo that we've lived by in this country is not the reality for way too many people. And I came into the education issue realizing that that was one of our most important levers in changing that trajectory. So if you want to change someone's life trajectory, if you want to empower them to be great despite the circumstances they came up in, the best way to do it is to make sure they get a good education. Yeah. Now, it's not enough to say this is a serious problem though. You have to really want to do something, you have to see a solution, and, you know, you have to know that a solution is in sight, that it's something that's available to us, and if we have the political will and the motivation to do it, then we could actually do it. And the way I came about knowing that we could do better was starting to learn about some of the schools where we are doing better, visiting them, talking to the principals, talking to the teachers. Some of these schools are charter schools. Now, these are public schools. They're often demonized by people that don't want change, but these are public schools that are run outside of the normal system. So they are run by public dollars. They serve everybody, no matter what their economic status is, no matter what their academic status is. They take all comers. And the only difference between them and a normal public school is that some of the status quo regime and bureaucracy that may stilt some progress in, or stifle progress in traditional public schools, aren't in the way in public charter schools. Now, some of them take that freedom, that autonomy, and they run with it, and they do very well with our kids, dramatically better than other schools are doing. Some of them are just average, some of them actually not even that good. But the fact that they're a charter gives them the freedom to experiment. Some of it works, and they keep their charter, and then theoretically, and as it should be, if they're not working, then they should lose their charter. But what these charter schools have enabled us to do is kind of experiment and see what works better for educating our kids. And I'm on the board of a school in Harlem that does dramatically better than schools in the same building in Harlem. So they draw from the same student pool, they're literally in the same building, the same facilities, and for some reason, whatever they're doing at one school is working dramatically better than what they're doing at another. And part of it is the quality of the leadership, the principal, and setting a culture of excellence. Part of it is in the teachers that they hire. They're better teachers, they're more effective at delivering the message to the students. And part of it is in the way they're run. So there's a no excuses mentality. They do whatever it takes. They measure students' progress all along the year, not just for standardized tests, but because they want to know how the kids are doing in various subjects. Have they mastered this skill yet? Do they understand this? And they're constantly asking questions. How can we do better? Status quo is not good enough. We need to get better. So when you see that it's possible to do much better than we're doing, and you know we're not doing it in enough places, then my motivation is I want to see that happen in more places so more of our kids have the opportunity to succeed. So that was a very long-winded answer, but It started with just wanting to do something good in the world. Next was I cared about poverty and alleviating poverty. And 3, seeing education as the key lever to break the cycle of poverty. Okay? I'm talking too much. I'm gonna not get to all your questions, but hopefully I'll answer them as I answer each and every one.
Hi, my name is Nikhil. As a fellow musician and a music performance major, I'd like to say that you're an incredible inspiration to me. As a musician, clearly an advocate of education reform, what is your take on fine arts funding in public schools?
We need it. It's another of the kind of false choices that ends up happening in these debates because, you know, when certain people ask for reform of schools, part of what they ask for is accountability. And part of the way you measure how a school is doing is through standardized tests and other ways of measuring progress. But the idea that you have to choose between a regime that accepts that you need some measurement and a regime that encourages things that can't be necessarily measured in a test, the idea that you have to choose between the two, I think is a false choice. I think we need a system that does measure our kids' progress and measures them against some kind of benchmark so we understand how well we're doing in the basics of reading and math and all these things. But we have to understand that even though it's a subtle thing, people having the arts and music in their classrooms makes them better at those other things, and it makes them a better person. So, for us who believe in investing in our kids, we can't say we're only going to invest in math and reading and social studies. We have to understand that the arts in the schools makes kids better communicators, makes them better leaders, makes them better at thinking, at working in groups, makes them better at completing a task, taking a project and saying, here, we're going to put this play together, we're going to put this song together, we're going to focus on this together as a team and make something great out of it. This makes our kids better at everything. So we need arts education in our schools to make our kids better students. Okay?
Hi, John. My name's Ahmed. And my question kind of stems from the fact that I had the great privilege, and I'm actually from Chicago. So in 2006, I had the privilege of actually seeing Obama run for the Senate.
Yeah.
And in one of his speeches, he spoke a lot about education reform and actually used a lot of the same rhetoric they use today. So my question is this. The Republicans have actors like Ronald Reagan and Arnold Schwarzenegger who have gone to run for political office. Have you ever thought about doing so yourself?
You know, when I was a kid, I wanted to be president. Now that I actually have a friend in the White House, I don't think I ever want to do it. You know, it's an interesting thing because that is certainly one way to make big change happen is to run for political office, but there's ways to make big change happen outside of that too. I look at someone like Bill Gates, for instance, as an example of someone who's made big change in the world, has invested in a lot of education innovation, invested in a lot of healthcare initiatives that have helped solve the AIDS crisis in a lot of places, and done a lot of great things from outside the political system. And to me, that's a better model for me, personally. Part of it is because I see how treacherous it is for someone to run for president. As a singer, if you don't like me as a singer, you don't pick it outside my show. You don't try to destroy my reputation. You just don't go to my show, which is fine. You know, I'm fine with, a significant percentage of the world not caring about whether John Legend's show is happening in their town. But as soon as you become a politician, if someone doesn't agree with you, not only do they not go to your show, they actively try to destroy you. And to me, I just don't want to be that guy. All right.
Hello, Mr. Legend. My name is Dagny, and on a side note, I want to say I thought your performance with Sade was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I understand that you're very qualified to advocate for education reform, not only due to your passion, but also your experience with homeschooling and public and private school. So I want to know, what do you think of a possible suggested, solution in terms of fixing the broken education system, if one could combine the curriculum and culture of charter schools and public schools?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with great leadership. So the schools that are working, whether they're charter schools or traditional public schools, they usually have an excellent principal. And so we have to make, a lot of it is driven by personnel, let's put it that way. So superintendent's job is to have a system that hires great people and gives them clear directive as to what they want to accomplish, and a sense of accountability, and saying we have no excuses. We want to go in there and do our best. We're not going to say because the kids are poor, because they can't, because traditionally their community hasn't produced a lot of graduates or a lot of people that go into college, that we're going to give up on them. So I think it starts with leadership from the top. But even within a school, even if the leadership isn't good, excellent teachers are able to cut through that, and they get way better results than even the teacher next door to them. So part of it is the personnel in each classroom. So we need to make sure we encourage some of our best people to go into teaching, and then give them an environment that nurtures them, develops them, and values them for what they do. And I think that would be a big key to solving some of our problems in education. That's not everything. And some people just say, you know, well, if people are poor, if they have bad health care, if they have all these other things, then there's no way they can learn. And absolutely, we need to make sure our kids have decent health care, have decent social services that make their lives easier in all the things that surround their schooling. But inside the school, we still have to do the job better inside the school to make sure they have the right teachers, the right leadership at the school that is driven to achieve better results for them.
My name is Joy, and I was just wondering if you've ever thought of crossing over into the film industry, like maybe using your ideas and vision to make a documentary or do more acting.
Yeah, well, I'm already doing it. I just started a TV and film production company with a couple of my friends in Hollywood, and so we're actually coming up with some ideas for TV shows and films right now. I've been a part of several films in different ways. Some of it's through contributing music. So I got really involved in the education issue through working with Waiting for Superman, the education documentary that came out a couple years ago. I'm actually involved as executive producer in a film called The House I Live In, which is about the war on drugs and how it's failed America, and kind of making us examine our criminal justice system and how we are the most imprisoned country on earth, and thinking about how that affects our society. That film is coming out in October, and I'm an executive producer of that film, and I'm excited to be part of it. I encourage you guys to see it. It's kind of mind-blowing, actually, what's happened over the years with our so-called war on drugs that has been a monumental failure. So that's another of my pet issues. I don't talk about it as much as I talk about education, but I care about it a lot, and this film will help educate people as to what we've been doing wrong for so long. So that's happening, and then I may do some acting too, we'll see. Yes.
Hi, Mr. Legend. My name is Dave Dune. I'm a freshman. I'm just wondering, what is one of the greatest life lessons you've learned from your college experience?
You know, let me tell you things that you guys should think about while you're still here, because it's not too late for you. Now, because you're still here, I will tell you one of the things that you should do more than what I did is talk to your professors. Now, sometimes you might see them as the enemy, as someone who's controlling your grades and who's got a deadline for your papers and has these tough exams for you to do, but I honestly feel like I could have gotten a lot more out of school just as an individual learning experience if I just talked to them more, engage with them on the subjects more, did research with them. And so I encourage you guys to not just kind of skate by doing what you have to do to get a good grade, but also do a little bit extra just engagement with your professors. That's just a tip that if I were to go back and do college over again, I would do that. Now, it's great to do it from hindsight, 14 years removed, but if I were to go back, that's what I would do. So I would encourage you guys to do that. But I think overall, like I said before, meeting different people from around the world. I was a small town kid. I was from Springfield, Ohio. I still have a little twang in my accent. I kind of lost it. I was just like kind of like a country kid, really. And I went to went to Philadelphia. It was all these kids from all over the world. They were a little older than me because I had skipped a couple grades when I was young. And I just was a fish out of water. And there's two ways you can, look at that as, well, this is going to be terrible, it's going to be really hard. Or you can look at it as an opportunity to learn and to grow from the experience. And I was pretty shy when I first got to school, but for me, music was an outlet. So when I was, singing in my a cappella group or doing talent shows or doing whatever, it was my chance to like kind of reach out and become a little more social. And that's another reason why we shouldn't take music out of schools, because it just brings certain kids out of their shell and gives them an opportunity to shine in a way that maybe they wouldn't do in the classroom, or would help them in the classroom to be more confident in themselves. But anyway, the most I gained from school was just that experience of growing up, being an adult in a place that was foreign to me, and in a circumstance that was foreign to me. And then, like I said before, critical thinking is such an important part of why you're here. So the ability to take data, to take this source research, this source material that you have, and to form your own conclusions about different issues that we're all challenged by. As you look at this political campaign and you evaluate the claims that each aspirant to the presidential office is making, or each aspirant to the Senate offices are making, part of what college equips you to do is make better decisions about those claims, to assess the validity of those claims, to understand how to use statistics to back up an argument or to refute an argument. All these things are what you're here for. So use it in your jobs, obviously, but use it as you engage in the political realm and in the social realm. Use this knowledge to help you be a better thinker and a better person. Okay? Thank you.